A United States diplomat who worked in South Africa and then as ambassador to Nigeria says he's disappointed that Pretoria and Washington do not enjoy a closer relationship. Speaking in New York during an interview with the SABC's Sherwin Bryce-Pease on his new book titled Mourning in South Africa, Ambassador John Campbell of the Council of Foreign Relations think tank raises concerns about what he calls the country's dysfunctional political leadership, shares his understanding of its leading political parties while expressing a view that the country faces an optimistic future given its strong judicial system, market-driven economy and a vocal and active civil society.
2011, I bought out my Nigeria book.
I asked him why he wrote the book, and in particular, why now?
Instead of being the Rainbow Nation, a grand democratic experiment, the construction of a country based on democracy, human rights, and multiracial. Instead, too many Americans were looking at South Africa from the perspective of game parks. Now, game parks are fine, but it's of limited relevance to the greater world. Whereas I think South Africa is of great relevance to the great world, as it were, because, as I argue there, it is an experiment in non-racial democracy, but it's an experiment that's actually working.
Thank you.
He writes about the cordial yet strained relationship between the country's two capitals, born out of a distrust of the Ronald Reagan administration and subsequently several foreign policy differences on Libya, Zimbabwe, and the low levels of U.S. investment under the Mandela administration.
It's disappointing to me because it does seem to me that two democratic, multiracial countries have a great deal in common. Certainly, there is a great deal that we Americans could learn from the South African experience. And to me, it is disappointing the relationship is not very much closer. At the time, in 1994, there was a kind of American expectation that the relationship would indeed be very close, that possibly something like the bilateral relationship with Australia or New Zealand, a relationship where there would be almost constant consultation.
Campbell, who travels regularly to South Africa, believes the EFF does not promote a democratic political culture, while the DA must begin to attract a broader demographic of voters to remain relevant.
We haven't spoken very glowingly about the ANC's leadership, but is there impressive leadership within the ANC?
Yes. I think one of the interesting things about the ANC is it's a very, very broad tent. One way to think about it is there's an important part of the ANC that is genuinely democratic and genuinely espouses non-racial ideals. It's right there. It's alive and kicking. Then there is the sort of personalities in the ANC who have, in my view, a lot of other people too, have lost sight of the ANC's ideals and are too concerned about exercising power for its own sake and also their own economic advancement. ANC's big. It's big and it's variable. It is not monolithic, and I think it certainly has within itself the seeds of reform.
Mourning in South Africa, a testament to a strong constitutional democracy where its people and institutions are well placed to weather the headwinds that often accompany politics and governance. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.